Namaste. Welcome now to our session on the 40 essential virtues for successful sadhana and actually successful spiritual life in general. We're ready for the 15th quality. Very interesting. Endurance. And Jayadayal Granka explains it this way: the capacity to bear heat and cold and to remain unaffected by pleasure and pain, etc., not to be influenced by diverse experiences. In other words, it means perseverance also. It means holding steady and being able and willing to undergo any difficulties that may come about externally or internally. Oftentimes, elements in our outer life try to impede us in our following of the Dharma. Sometimes individuals even say, well, no one will have anything to do with you if you do that, or what will people think? And I have my father say when I talked about a spiritual principle, oh, will you become an outcast from the family? I thought about it and thought, all right, fine. Better that than to be an outcast from God and from the path to God. So it does mean sometimes, of course, we just hang on and go through it. And sometimes, again, we just exercise patience with people or other elements and just, we may not grin, but we certainly can bear it. Swami Titananda, one of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, came to America at the request of Swami Vivekananda, and he took charge of the Vedanta Center in San Francisco. And he started an ashram there. And for the sadhakas who were living there, he put up a sign on the wall that said, "Do or die, but you won't die." That's it. Our ego, the force of cosmic ignorance, may say, oh, it's going to get you, it's going to destroy you. It won't. It will not at all. So the thing is, you hang on and you ignore it. You don't even think of resisting it. You just say, it's not in my life, and onward we go. So its ability to be pressured, to undergo, yes, even persecution, and the inner laziness of the ego also, the cowardice of the ego, and just hold fast. And if you hold on long enough, everything comes out all right. No matter how powerful the storm may be, they always pass. So we must remember that everything ultimately passes away. There's a poem called Even This May Pass Away. I wish I thought of it. I tried to look it up for us, but it's about someone who, to remind himself of the evanescent nature of everything in this world, no matter how seriously we take it, how deeply we're involved with it. And so he actually had a ring made that had the words, even this shall pass away, on his finger. And therefore, and he was a ruler, you see, he was a king. So that means lots of troubles, lots of anxieties, lots of conflict. And so, in the midst of that, he would think it was a rather flashy ring, so it would sort of sparkle, and he would look and see those words, even this will pass away. And when he was dying, which is not always easy, though we've done it all millions of times, When he was dying, he looked down and saw those words, even this shall pass away, which it did. Both life and death pass away, but eternal reality beyond time and space is forever. So there'll be no peace until we get there. There'll be no endurance until we get there. Therefore, sadhana, sadhana, sadhana. The 16th point is piety. That can mean a lot to a lot of people. Sri Yanka says, absolute faith in the scriptures and the teachings of the sages, spiritual teachers, and the Lord himself, considering them and realizing they are directly perceived truths. In other words, they're not something somebody thought up and said, it's reasonable to me. I think thus and so about it. No. The great rishis were just that. They were seers. You don't have to take it on faith that 1 and 1 are 2 and 2 and 2 are 4. Experience shows that out. So the rishis were not seers of truth in the sense of abstraction. They perceived reality, and their teachings are the principles of that reality, which, when followed, both put us in alignment with the absolute reality and fits us to perceive and unite our consciousness with the absolute reality. So that's real piety. Some people say, we're very religious, and they just mean superstitious or they mean obedient to a bunch of rules. But that isn't religion at all. Religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind back. In other words, religion, real religion, returns us to the eternal perspective we had before we ever entered into relative existence. In other words, it turns us back to ourselves. So it's a strong holding on to. All right. Item 17, forgiveness. And that's not just saying, oh, I forgive you, I don't blame you anymore. It also, as explained here, is also having no thought of any retaliation, not even shaming them. There are some people, they'll be all noble when they talk to you because they want to prove they're better than you are and have you feel kind of, oh, well, I'm kind of cheap morally. I mean, well, what a wonderful viewpoint they have and what a great tolerance. I really ought to be a better person. So there are people who belittle you by their goodness, but it's a fake goodness, of course. But this does happen. So it also means just letting go of it. In other words, yes, they wronged me. Yes, they lied about me. Lest they tried to injure me, or maybe they really did injure me. But that's the past. The future lies ahead. I'm not going to walk backwards through my life. I'm going to walk forward to what's coming. And if more of the same troubles come, fine, they come. You can't stop them. So you're not sane if you don't just move ahead. So this is also the fact with what we run into. There are some people that think of what happened to them 20 years ago and they get angry all over again. I had a friend like that. They could tell me something that happened like 20 years before in high school and just suddenly and in retelling it get just as bad as they were when it happened to them before. Well, that's just self-torture. So the thing is, let go, and realize, anyway, it's just all a training film. It's just movies. Yogananda frequently said that. The reality is the one who's seeing the movie, and that's you. Therefore, back to the primal principle of the Bhagavad Gita, therefore be a yogi. We'll say namaste there and take up the rest of the list next time. we'll say namaste there and take up the rest of the list next time after I figure out how to push the button.